Welcome back to another episode of the Reason to Behold podcast. It's a new season.
It's a new season. Let's switch up that intro.
Oh my goodness. With Tolu Talks.
And Arnold Reasons.
Let's go, bro. I say we jump straight into it because you started a conversation just before we started recording and I thought, you know what? Let's talk about it. What were you saying, bro?
I was talking about, there's this kind of theory that once you start getting paid to do something, you kind of fall out of love with it and you don't really want to do it so much. And I've always found it very interesting because I feel like if you take something I love doing, like playing basketball, and you pay me to do it, I'm a very happy man. I'm a very happy man. Like very, very happy.
Yeah.
The thing comes from like, well, if you're now paid to do it, it becomes an obligation, but I'm obligated to play basketball. Okay, then. For me, it's not a problem. So that's what I was wondering. How do you feel about that? Like, is that something that you vibe with, you agree with? Like, what's your thought on it?
If I get to do something that I consider to be fun and I get paid for it, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, even when you said it, the first thing I thought of was entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like building a business, taking a product or service to market.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You can do all of the good stuff and do all of your freebies and all of that kind of stuff. But when you cross over the threshold and you start seeing money on the other side of what you're doing,
it's different.
Like, I feel like because it's something you're passionate about, something that you enjoy so much, it almost makes it feel like free money because it's like,
yes,
I could do this all day long, right?
Yes.
And yet now I'm also seeing a return financially for it. I'm scaling that all the way up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think even when you said it, what I thought is I wonder if behind that kind of belief is a resistance against doing the hard work and doing the discipline side of things, right?
Because that's what I was actually going to say is that, look, I'm super competitive. Yeah. I enjoy doing the work to get better. So like if I could just practice basketball every day, get better and better and better, I'd love that. You pay me to go to the gym all the time and you pay me to be in shape. I want to be in shape anyway. So work gets in the way. So for me, I'm like, I'm happy with that. You're very competitive and you're very entrepreneurial.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you love the process. And what I realize is that, bro, we might be a little bit weird. Yeah. We might actually be a little bit weird. And maybe actually the average person doesn't feel the same way about those things. Because for me, it's like, if you're paying me to do the grind.
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Yeah.
Great. We'll do that.
And do you know what it is? I think there's a key word you said there, which the listeners can decide what they want to do with it. But you said the average person, right?
Oh.
And the reason why I pulled that back, the reason why I want to pull that back is because I know something that I believe we both have in common is that we're not trying to do average. We're trying to do above average, right?
Yeah.
And I think above average requires you to do above average things.
Yes.
Right? Including the work that most people don't want to do. Right?
Yeah.
The extra effort. Like even with the example you spoke about with basketball, who's trying to go and train all those hours to make their muscles sore?
Yeah.
Go to sleep, wake up and do it again. Right?
Yeah.
Who is the mad person that wants to be staying up until the midnight hour, writing their plans, building their website, tweaking their funnel, go to sleep, wake up, launch ads, lose money, wake up, do the same thing again until they eventually get it right? Like, who's trying to do all of that, right?
Yeah. I think the thing is as well is that it's high risk. Like, especially what you're talking about. You're putting yourself out there for a risk that you don't actually know, like, is it going to pay off or not? I might lose money on it, but it's a high risk, high reward scenario. Entrepreneurship, high risk, high reward.
It is, bro. It is. And I think a lot... Go on, sorry.
No, go on. You go.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the great things, like the things that we celebrate the most, right? Like even like think about something like basketball, football, all of these different things, right? How much money and attention gets pumped into the people that are most excellent at these things, i.e. above average, right?
Yeah.
But yet the other side of it is all of those people that have people cornered when it comes down to the Sunday afternoon or whenever the football's playing or whenever the basketball matches are going, like all of those people that are actually performing have to do a whole lot of stuff that you don't see in order to perform at that level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is where you already know how I feel about this subject. As believers,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think we are called to a much higher standard. And for those
yeah.
who don't know, spoiler alert, there is a book that will be released at some point soon which addresses this from me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are called to be holy,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Definition: set apart
Mm.
due to your consecration to God. Like your as a result of our relationship with God, we are called to be different and uncommon from what is common, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that say to some of the efforts that we put into the things that we are saying that we're committed to, right?
Mm. Mm. Do you know what? I've been listening to Daniel over the last few days, yeah? And it's the bits like Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were 10 times wiser or 10 times better than the people of the land. Yeah. When they said, look, I don't want to defile myself, which is being holy. I want to be holy unto my God. I don't want to eat the things that you guys want to eat. Bro, when they did what they felt like they were meant to do, they were in better shape than the rest of the people who are eating meat and wine and all the fine things. And they're eating vegetables and water. So it's like, bro, there is something that comes when you are holy and set apart. Bro, even when the king had the dream and he said, unless you tell me my dream, I'm killing all of you. Yeah, bro, it's unreasonable. How am I meant to know the dream? But Daniel can come and said, I can't tell you about your dream, but the God that I serve, he knows your dream and he gives the interpretation. And here it is. And that's what you're talking about. Because they're holy, because they're set apart, they had that advantage, bro. But it doesn't mean they don't work hard. This is the thing. Daniel and them, they worked hard, bro. They still studied. They still did all the stuff. But, bro, if Daniel has a discipline of sitting in this place and praying multiple times a day, do you think he's not disciplined in other parts of his life?
Holiness is not just I'm a virgin who has never slept with someone, or I don't swear and I don't I give tithes and all. That's not that's not holiness is so much bigger than that. And I feel like this is something that we don't talk about enough, right? And forget even talk about enough, because maybe that's even the wrong thing to say. I haven't heard every conversation, right? This is not something that I think, at least in my experience and what I've seen, we take seriously enough. That much I can say. And I know I can say that because if we did take this stuff seriously,
different,
bro, there wouldn't be a single field or sphere of influence in this world where it's not Christians that are dominating in not just the top 1, 2, but the top 1,000. Do you get what I'm saying? We would be untouched. And especially because of the divine advantage that we have, right? Being connected to the original creator, infinite wisdom, infinite power, infinite ability. But yet, because we don't take these things so seriously, like Elon Musk, right? Jeff B. All of these other people. And I don't know where they're at in their journeys, right? But my point is that we don't know them to be believers. And if they were,
because the way that I've just been thinking about it is that, look, we are meant to be holy and set apart, right?
Yeah.
And why is that though? Is because God wanted Israel to be holy, to be set apart, to be different, so that actually the nations that they come in contact with can be like, why are you different? And they can be like, well, this is the God that we serve. Even all the all the rules and different things that God gave, it was to show that they were different. But also so much of it was actually just like good for their health. Do you know what I mean? So much of it was actually making them a healthier people, so that actually like people can see that like actually when you serve this God, this is what comes of it. It's to show his glory and to show like this, there is actually something about serving this God that is different. Yeah. To the point where all through Daniel, there are so many times where they're like, no. This God that Daniel serves, this is the one true, like no one can say anything against this God, because you can see actually like Daniel is different. Daniel is wiser. And what happened to them? Daniel got put in the second place in the country. And what did he do? He said, yes, king, thank you. Bring my people along who are also like me. Yeah, like that's how it should be. We should be ranking number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You know?
The world should have no option but to go to his people.
Yeah.
Because we're so gone in how many of us are there dominating in all of these spaces and places. And everything you just said reminded me of some verses that I've pulled up. Ezekiel chapter 36. I was hanging around these verses for a while, a few years back. I've not been there for a while. But as soon as you started talking about it, it brought it back to my remembrance. But Ezekiel 36. Oh my goodness, man. I'm going to read it from...
So there's Ezekiel 36.
Yeah, Ezekiel 36. From verse 16.
Okay.
It says, the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, when the house of Israel lived in their own land, they defiled it by their ways and their deeds. Their ways before me were like the uncleanness of a woman in her menstrual impurity. So I poured out my wrath upon them for the blood that they had shed in the land, for the idols with which they had defiled it. I scattered them among the nations, and they were dispersed through the countries. In accordance with their ways and their deeds, I judged them. But when they came to the nations, wherever they came, they profaned my holy name, in that people said of them, these are the people of the Lord, and yet they had to go out of his land. But I had concern for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations to which they came. Therefore say to the house of Israel, thus says the Lord God, it is not for your sake, O house of Israel, that I am about to act, but for the sake of my holy name, which you have profaned among the nations to which you came. And I will vindicate the holiness of my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, and which you have profaned among them. And the nations will know that I am the Lord, declares the Lord God, when through you I vindicate my holiness before their eyes. I will take you from the nations and gather you from all the countries and bring you into your own land. I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean from all your uncleannesses, and from all your idols I will cleanse you. It goes on, and I'll give you a new heart and a new spirit, and so on and so forth. But the key thing was about how he's speaking about how they profaned his name among the nations, right? And I like, we are his ambassadors. The scripture that he refers to, he says, be ye holy for I am holy, right? The holiness that we are supposed to demonstrate is not even just because we are just like wise and amazing, right? It's because of who we represent, whose family we come from, who our father is. We are his representations here on earth. And so the level to which we display all of our characteristics, everything about us, from how excellent we are at the work that we do, to how strategic and well oiled our businesses operate, like to how we engage with strangers, like all of these different things about our lives are supposed to be a representation of him and his holiness, right? And how distinctly different he is and his ways are from the ways of those that follow the God of this world, right?
And it just had me thinking, like, I wonder how God feels about how we as Christians are doing in the world right now. Not even just in the workplace, but bro, like when we look at the church and now we have documentaries about Hillsong, it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
This
is like, this is on Netflix, where we're documenting like actually how bad we've been as a church, like our downfall as the church. Like that's not and I'm wondering, what is the opposite of profaning the name of God? You know, is that shouting the greatness of the name of God? Because profaning is like shouting about how bad something is, but is that shouting about how good it is? And I don't feel like lots of people around the world are shouting how good God is.
Is it glory? Kabod, the weight. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if that speaks to some of that. Because it's the direct opposite, right? When we're profaning his name, essentially we're desecrating it and making it seem like feces, right?
Yeah. You might be right. That might be it. Is glorifying his name.
Come on, bro.
are we actually like glorifying his name amongst the heathen? Because that's what in the version I said, it said amongst the heathen, where you're saying amongst the nations.
Yeah.
It's amongst the heathen. It's amongst those who don't know him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, what are we actually,
And it's stuff like this that has me really seeing the divine drive that should be behind a lot of the things we're pushing towards, because this isn't just about building a great business or being an excellent person in the corporate world or being an amazing husband or any of these other things, right? This is about his name. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think the more that you think about it from that angle, you realize that this is a very high standard that we've been called to, and it's a very high and important thing that we treat all of these different parts of our lives with the seriousness that is really attached to them.
Because that's actually what's at stake, is glorifying his name amongst the nations. Like, that's really what's at stake.
And it's so wild, bro, because like I remember maybe the first couple of years after I'd got saved, that word glorify, glory, glorify, we used to say it every time we're praying, and it's just it comes and goes, right? But I feel like this is actually like really pressing in on what that looks like, right? Because I think there is maybe like some of the traditional ways that we think of it when we think of the word like glorify. We want you to be glorified, Lord. We want you to be, but it's like, what are we actually saying?
What does that mean
when we're saying that, right?
Because what's interesting is there's that verse, and I'm paraphrasing, but it talks about, you know, whether you're eating or drinking, do it for the glory of God. And it's like, bruv, even in something as basic and as needed as eating and drinking, you can do that for the glory of God or not. Like, and it makes me think about like, you know, there's all these memes about how actually the after church crowd is the worst to serve in restaurants. The Christians after church are the worst. So like, we're not actually eating and drinking to the glory of God. Like, it's that simple. Like, even that kind of thing.
Man. Oh my goodness. Do you know why? Yeah. The reason why I laughed so hard when you said that is because obviously on this whole health and fitness diet and all of that kind of stuff, that conversation we've been running in the group chat and offline and stuff in general, it made me even think about even that thing right there. Whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it to the glory of God. What are we consuming? How much of it are we consuming? Your body is the temple of God, right? And these are things that I've actually been thinking about myself lately in general anyway, right? But I think it's, man, there's a high call, bro. There's a high call.
And I think that sometimes when we think about it in that way, it's like, do we forget that God made food? And God made food taste good. Do you know what I mean? So it's not even like God doesn't want us to be eating, like he wants us to eat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But actually it's like, so there's the verse that talks about how their God is their bellies. You know, and even what you were talking about from Ezekiel, where it's talking about the idols that you've placed there and different things like that. All these things are actually linked together. So like one of the things like I love about my dad, so like when we're at my parents' place, is he'll literally go to the fridge. He'll open up the fridge and he'll go, Lord, what should I eat? And he'll just like wait to hear, like, and he'll pick and he'll go, okay, no, not that. And I'm literally watching him just do this. This is what he does every day. Every day. And sometimes he'll say to me, then I'll be like, oh, how are you doing? The next day, and he's like, God told me not to eat this thing and I ate it and now I'm suffering. Do you know what I mean? Like, because God knows what is good for your body. You know, so it's this thing of actually like, what is our relationship and our dynamic with even that kind of thing? Or actually are our bellies our gods? Are we just determined by what our body wants? Or actually what God wants for us?
Moderation, brother. Because even in you saying that, there are so many things that are coming to my mind. Like, I think we were talking about this offline the other day about how one of the most important things to do with life we're not necessarily taught, right? I.e., this is my body, this is how it operates. This is the breakdown of how you should fuel it. And this is how you should ensure that your fuel is going to good use. This is how you determine the maximum amount of fuel needed for your specific, but we're not taught none of that, right?
No.
And as you were speaking, I was thinking about gluttony. And I was thinking about how in 2024, right, I wonder if many of us have even fallen guilty of things like gluttony due to a lack of like awareness of where the line really should be.
Bro, how often have you heard a sermon about gluttony? Like, I actually can't, and I've listened to my fair share of sermons in my life.
Yeah.
But I can't actually think about a sermon about gluttony and actually how we should be eating. What relationship should we be having with food?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Something my dad said is that sometimes Jesus would say to his disciples would be going to eat, and Jesus would be like, "I'm not hungry." Or, Jesus is eating at a different time to his disciples. And my dad is like, Jesus is obviously living like a fasted lifestyle where like sometimes he's really hungry when no one else is hungry because he's not eating at the same time as them. And actually, like, do we live a fasted lifestyle? Like, do we even know what that looks like? Because actually, bro, gluttony is very, especially in the world we live in now, where our food is actually built to make us addicted.
And it's also in abundance. It's not like we have to go out, kill it. Even just something like that, bro, right?
Kill what?
The fact that we don't have to go through the process of hunting.
Yep.
Hunting requires calories, bro. It requires energy. It's activity. You are moving in order to hunt, right? You walking, running, like throwing things, dragging things. When you catch your prey, you now have to take your prey wherever you're going to eat it, right? So it's like...
do all the stuff and
all
then
of
cook
that.
I don't have to cook anymore.
All of that, I think, is almost like the stuff that was baked into the way that life would have operated, so that you wouldn't necessarily fall into some of the foolishness that we fall into today. Let's just say, right? But like, bro, you don't even have to lift your hand. Like, you can tell Siri to call to holler at delivery. You can press a number.
I'm telling you.
Especially with the way AI is going as well. Like, it's so instantaneous. You don't have to do none of that, but yet you would still potentially eat the same. And not to mention, like you mentioned, the ingredients and the stuff that is intentionally put into a lot of the things that we consume to cause you to keep on coming, right?
Garbage. Did you see that Elon managed to implant something in someone's brain with Neuralink? I
saw the headline, but I didn't read anything further.
Bro,
I just saw it.
You're not even going to have to ask Siri. You'll just have the thought and it will be coming to your house. Yeah?
Miss me with that, bro.
Bro, I don't want to implant nothing into my brain like that. No, thank you.
I saw the headline. I said, mark of the...
Yeah, man.
Oh, goodness, man.
Do you know what? I think this thing about being average, because, bro, even before I said it, I was thinking, is that rude to say? Is that prideful to say? I was wondering, like, what is it? But actually, bro, like, when you look on average, and that's the thing, like, we see average as like, it's this terrible thing, but average is factual. Yeah, it's not. It is. It's not actually positive or negative.
It's the data.
It's the data. If you take 1 million people and ask them, do you enjoy these things? Do you not? On average, I reckon actually most people are going to say no. Is this what you want for your life? Most people are actually going to say no. And I think it's that thing of actually, I'm trying to learn, like, the way that this world works is not the way that God wanted it to work.
Yeah.
And we know that actually a small proportion of people are probably going to become Christian. So actually, like, on average, the way that people are going to be living is not actually how we're meant to be living.
Oh,
so
my
we're
days.
meant to live a holy, set apart life that is not average. It's not meant to be average. It's not. And then I was listening to Secret to Success, and they were talking about how in school you're graded on the curve. Yeah. So you're saying, amongst your peers, this is where you rank. And if you take that approach to life, you might be ranking yourself higher than you really should be. You shouldn't be grading yourself on the curve. I shouldn't be grading my life compared to how other people live their life. I should be grading my life. And this is what we've been talking about, is like, are you actually maxing out your potential?
Come on.
Like, yes, you're doing okay. But in terms of what you're meant to do, are you maxing out your potential? Because that's the real test. And bro, when we get to heaven, God is not going to say, okay, Tolu, well, compared to Arnold, you did decent. He's going to say, I gave you 5 talents, or I gave you 2 talents, or I gave you 1 talent. How did you do with what I gave you?
Yep.
Not compared to, well, Arnold had X talents. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, bro, even the people that had the different talents, they were measured on their return on those talents, and they were all 100%, apart from that one. So it's not even about it's about what did I give you?
Yeah.
What did you do with what I gave you?
And I think these are some of the real questions that we have to ask ourselves, and to ask ourselves often as well, because no man knows the day or the hour, right?
Nope.
We don't know when it is that we're going to be called to account on what we did with what he gave us. And I think that carries such a seriousness to it as well. When you were speaking about numbers, statistics, average, a couple of scriptures came to mind as well. Matthew 7, 2 different parts. 13, verse 13, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And that's not even why I came here, but it's there for there. And those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. So many things come out of this, right? First of all, the many versus the few, right? If we make the mistake of, like you said, measuring ourselves according to the peers and what is average and what is around us and what is normal, right? It's not a safe space to be, right?
No.
Because it's like, and it's, even to add to that as well, is the path that we are taking in all of these different areas of our lives easy, right? Is there any friction or difficult? And I'm not saying that if you don't experience hard every single day of every single second of every single day, that it means you're in the wrong place. That's not what I'm saying, right? Because I think even in doing the hard, when you're shooting ball, bro, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work and a lot of practice. But bro, I'm sure there are some days when you're just raining them. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is, bro, it also depends on what you see as hard.
Yeah.
And I think that we see hard as suffering. But bro, hard is, I want to watch another 3 hours of Netflix, but actually I'm not going to. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to watch whatever I want to.
Yeah.
It's easy to not consider what I'm putting into my mouth. Into my spirit or whatever it is. But actually, the hard thing is sometimes denying yourself of that thing that you really, really want because of something else. So actually, like, most of life will actually be quite hard because the way that this world is set up is for convenience.
Yeah.
It's for ease. It's for, I want my Amazon package by 10 p.m. tonight because I can have it by 10 p.m. tonight. This world is built to be easy, but actually, like, what we're called to do is not necessarily easy compared to what the rest of the world wants us to do. Actually, it is going to be a little bit hard. And you are going to actually day to day, hour to hour, going to have to make decisions about, okay, do I want to scroll Instagram for another half an hour? Or do I want to go do something else that's actually productive for me? So it's like that for me is what's actually, that's quite hard. Because, bro, I enjoy Instagram. I enjoy being served a feed, being fed entertainment. I enjoy it. Oh my
gosh.
I enjoy it. And we were talking about actually how most of that stuff is actually fake.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Bro,
it tastes good. It tastes good. I enjoy myself. I enjoy it.
You know, the default is that you go down the wide path because you don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to go searching for it.
It's easy as fun.
But the gate, the narrow way, and the life that is described as hard has to be found.
Does it say the gate?
Verse 14, for the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life.
Is there a gate on the other one, on the wide path?
Yep, there is.
There is a gate, okay.
Yeah,
so I wasn't sure if it was like the narrow path has a gate, which is a barrier, and the wide path doesn't, but it sounds like they both have a gate.
The other one's wide and this one's narrow. So I guess it still feeds into the point that I think you were making. Because it's like, if it's a big old gate, it's like...
Easy. Flow through. Flow through.
But you have to find, like, there is a search, there is a proactiveness that you have to find, right? That narrow gate, path. That narrow path, that way to life.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we know that these are speaking about that. One of the obvious levels that this is speaking about is obviously to do with salvation and Jesus being the way and all of that kind of stuff, right? But its application extends beyond that. Go on, you were going to say
bro,
something.
it talks about like walking out or finding your salvation with fear and trembling. So it's like actually even like walking along the path through life, you have to actually take that narrow path.
Yeah.
Because where are you going otherwise? You know, so like, yes, it's absolutely about salvation, but it's also about how we live our lives. Because bro, like if you're not careful, living that wide gate life can take you off the right path. Because bro, there are so many people who like don't follow God, don't believe God exists anymore but they were Christian before. They've rejected it because actually, bro, like that life will get you, you know? That life will get you.
And you just open something as well. There is a gate and there is a way, right? Because this is the other thing as well, is that it's so easy to look at salvation and the faith just through the lenses of the gate. Oh, yeah, it was so hard to get me to the place where I'd finally say, you know what? I'm wrong. You're right. I'm in debt. Help me out, right? That's the gate, right?
There's a way.
That's the gate. And after the gate, there is a way that we are called to pursue, which is described as hard.
Because the life that we're called to, even if you look at the Israelites back in the day, when you look at the things they had to follow, they were not easy. They were not easy. It was hard. It was actually hard, and actually that's what we're called to. And I think what you said about seeking is so important, because it talks about, you know, if you will seek me with your whole heart, then you will find me. And that's not a small thing. That's not a small thing at all.
And it's so interesting. Go on.
Yeah, go on. There you go.
It's so interesting because even that, like thinking back to Israel, right? It wasn't just laws and commandments around how to do worship of any kind or sacrifice and all that. Like there was stuff to do with food, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like
bruv,
stuff to do with your hedges,
clothes.
your garm. Like it's and yet the perspective that we sometimes have on the faith and Christianity and New Testamentism, right, is like, yeah, just come and say a prayer and that's it kind of thing, right?
Because, and this was actually something that was really interesting. So there was this church at New Year's. Did you see it? And they were doing the swag surf or something like that. Like that. And the pastor was saying, look, 150 people got saved on this day. So like, what are you talking about? And some of the conversation around it is that, yeah, but they got saved swag surfing. So
wait, what?
Like, bro, it was New Year's Eve, yeah? And you know that Walk It Out song? You know that Walk It Out?
Yeah.
That song was playing and people were like, yeah. And they were swag surfing, which is another similar song. And it's like, okay, but if people think that being saved is walking it out and swag surfing, of course they're going to get saved. Like, they don't actually know that you have to give stuff up to, you know? And it's that kind of thing that actually, like, do we really understand, like, when I'm saying yes to Jesus, I'm saying no to a lot of things that actually my flesh wants?
100%. 100%. Because how many people get to the gate and maybe even take their first step onto the path, realize this way is Ado. And they choose to 180, right? Yeah. And I think this is the thing that, like, if you haven't seen it in your time in the faith, be careful it's not you, right? Because this is something that we commonly see.
Yeah.
And I think it's a matter of time, and the scriptures speak about it, right? It's something to be expected, that not everybody that says to me, Lord,
yeah.
You know, it's in the same chapter. But
and what's mad for me, is that those are people who are like, but we did this in your name. Like, they actually did stuff.
Bro.
You know, they actually tried to do stuff. That's mad for me.
Mighty works, bro.
Mad for me.
Some works that are even more mighty than some of the things that we've ever seen or done. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, prophecy, casting out demons. And it's like, goodness me. Like,
he calls them workers of iniquity. Wild.
So if there's one way I think we should conclude it, it's with the verses that follow, right?
Okay.
Because this is all from Matthew chapter 7.
Yeah.
From verse 24, it says, everyone then, after he said all of those things, everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock.
On the rock. Wow.
And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house. and it fell, and great was the fall of it.
I think that is it. Hear and do.
Yeah, man.
You know, hear and do. And actually, what am I doing to make sure that I hear? Because hearing is a conscious decision, especially in this age where, like, bro, there's so much distraction. It's so easy to not hear. So actually, like, what am I doing to make sure that I'm hearing? And that was one of the things that I've been thinking about. And just praying about, like, God, what is it that I actually need to be hearing right now? Like, what do I need to be hearing? Because actually, like, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word. So I need to be hearing. So what do I need to be hearing? You know, how do I position myself to hear?
And as you said that, a second thought that came to mind for me is, what are the things that I need to hear less of? Like, what are the things that I need to turn down?
Yeah.
Because if my ears are so, like, if you walk into a room and it is blaring with music, bro, I can't hear anybody talking. Do you get what I'm saying? And that is the world that we live in, where every room that we enter, every single place that we go, there are so many things fighting for our attention, right? And it's reinforced by, again, we go there once again, as we always do, the social media age, right? The timeline scrolling and all of that.
Yeah.
It's reinforced by that kind of conditioning that happens through our use of these platforms, right? And so it takes a conscious decision to say, all right, what do I need to pull back from so that I can quiet myself and turn down the noise so that I can
hear.
Actually hear.
Someone said, what you tune into, you turn into.
Let that sit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let that sit. Yeah, man.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Reason to Behold podcast. What are you listening to? Are you being average? Are you just like the average of everybody else? Or are you actually finding ways to embrace that hard path and actually do the things? Because God speaks to all of us in different ways, but he speaks to all of us. And he expects broadly the same thing from all of us. He expects us to seek him. He expects us to obey him. He expects us to do the things that are in his word. It's the same for everybody. So are you actually doing those things, or are you making like a bit of an idol in your own kind of image of what you want it to look like? Selah. Think on that. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.